You know, I believe in every movement, there are moments that will determine the fate of the cause, of the mission. And it often comes down to a choice that is made to fall back or to lean forward, to stay safe or to take an incredible risk, to play nice and make friends with those in power, or to call it as you see it, to remain comfortable or to get in the dirt and get a little uncomfortable. And those human rights movements, those movements that we've come to learn about and read about in our history books and school, I'm confident that the fate, each and every one of them, came down to just a handful of decisions. Think for a moment about the decision of Mother Till to keep her son, Emmett's, casket open, which led Rosa Parks to refuse to give up her seat on the bus that day, which then began the Montgomery bus boycotts, which then morphed into the Greensboro sit-ins, which grew larger and larger and larger until the Civil Rights Act. Now, I wish I was gifted with words or speech, but I am not. So let me say this as plainly as I can, without verse, without cadence, that friends, today, I believe our movement has reached that crossroads, that moment, that fork in the road where we will have to decide if we go left or if we go right. We've seen some incredible victories in the last 4 years. There are children, toddlers, alive today because of our work and that of President Trump's administration. And I have absolutely zero regret about our movement's partnership with those in power who sought to partner with us to seek an end of the violence of abortion. But now we face the most pro-abortion presidential administration ever elected right here in Washington, D.C. Do we take a left turn and just go home, resigning ourselves to the fact that everything we have worked for will just be undone with a stroke of a pen? Do we adopt a losing mentality that our movement has just been set back? Or do we turn right? Do we go the unexpected route, the uncharted route? Do we push harder than we've ever pushed before to take a stand for life against the violence of abortion and for our right to exist as a movement, to speak the truth without fear of being silenced? Now, while I can't speak for the entirety of our diverse pro-life movement, I do hope today that I'm speaking for the majority of us that will not fall into despair, that will refuse to be deterred, and will never be bullied into silence. Do you know that every January, pro-life leaders from across the globe gather right here in Washington for the annual pro-life march? And every year, I'm asked the same questions from these courageous leaders who have risked everything to stand for life in their nations. Do you know the question they ask? Why? Why is it that the American pro-life movement is different? Despite having some of the most extreme abortion laws in the world, we have one of the most active pro-life movements on this earth. Every year for the last 47 years, we unite, we come together, Republican, Democrat, Christian, atheist, black, white, to stand in opposition to the ruling of 7 men in 1973 that's now been responsible for the ending of more than 62 million preborn baby girls and baby boys. In fact, no other cause in the history of the world has ever done this. Why is this, they ask? Now, I think that these leaders expect me to give them some sort of a scholarly answer, but I have none. The only answer I can think to give is grit. We've refused to give up, to remain silent, to wait our turn. Because we know, as Martin Luther King Jr. wrote in that dark Birmingham jail cell, that when someone tells us to wait, it almost always means never. And what's so disheartening is that the justice, the recompense we seek isn't even for ourselves. It's for others, millions of others that we will likely never meet. So no, we do not have the luxury of passively waiting for the perfect political candidate to ally ourselves with, or the perfect political climate to seek the end of abortion violence. Even though some in our society, and those majority maybe, those in power, may not recognize that there's right and wrong do exist. And the time to act is now, right now, regardless of who sits in the Oval Office or the threats his administration may make to us. Because our movement isn't a political one. 7 men in 1973 ensured we would have to engage in the political to see victory. But that's not our motivation, or even where we spend the majority of our time and our resources engaging. Our movement is made up of hundreds of thousands of Americans who devote their time and their energy to serving those in need in their community, those right there in crisis, who donate, who stand for life each Saturday in front of the abortion facilities, who attend every single life chain, who march every single year. And it's in communities where year after year, decade after decade, we've seen the fruits of our labors. Today, we are seeing an all-time decline in the number of abortions in our nation. We are at one of the lowest points of abortion facilities since the handing down of Roe v. Wade. We've seen a tremendous growth in the youth pro-life movement. When we launched Students for Life in 2006, we thought there might be 100 student pro-life organizations. Since launching full-time, we are honored now to be serving over 1,250 Students for Life organizations in all 50 states. And we've trained over 100,000 young people. When you look at polls and what polls tell us, the pulse of the American people on abortion, it's not even what you would expect, especially if you're watching certain cable news outlets. The majority of Americans reject abortion extremism. The vast majority of Americans, over 70%, don't want their tax dollars funding abortion. And in fact, in polling just released this week by Students for Life's Institute for Pro-Life Advancement, we found that nearly 80% of 18 to 34-year-olds, those who we are told are supposed to be the most liberal, the most ardent in their support of abortion, want common sense restrictions on abortions. Less than 20% believe abortion should be wherever, whenever, and taxpayer funded. Half of young people want to make sure that their tax dollars don't fund abortions, whether overseas or here in America. And a plurality agree with us that when a child's heart begins to beat about 3 weeks after conception, abortion should no longer be permitted. This is why I have hope, because we have momentum. I can feel it. I can see it, and I can prove it. And I know this is why, sadly, we will be considered enemy number one by many here in Washington, D.C. in the coming years. But the fate of our movement, of millions of lives, I am not going to let that rest on politicians and their funders in the abortion lobby. No. The fate of our movement, of millions of lives, rests with us. And that's a responsibility that keeps me up at night. For I know my Maker made me for great things, just like how he made you. And just like my earthly father, I know my heavenly Father is not a fan of excuses. We can no longer wait for the perfect. the perfect Supreme Court case, the perfect president, the perfect moment. So today, I'm honored to say I'm taking Students for Life and the Pro-Life Gen, and we are turning right at the crossroads, and we're launching the Pro-Life Future campaign. We're launching a multi-million-dollar campaign in 18 cities across the United States to attack abortion at every level, in person and online. From the mother in crisis to the devout Christian who's never stood up for life, we will engage all of them. Online, we'll connect the woman in crisis as they sit inside of the abortion facility or in her classroom through sophisticated geomarking technologies and connect her directly with nonviolent abortion alternatives in her community via chat or phone call. We're going to use professional market research that Students for Life has completed to reach those who support abortion or say they support abortion and change their minds. About 31% of them, to be exact. And for those in the pews who have failed to act, yeah, we're going to reach them too. And we're going to motivate them to join our efforts. On the ground, we're no longer going to wait, as we're going to be in front of the abortion facilities each and every weekend. We're going to be forming coalitions with our churches to host community-wide events. And we're going to increase our efforts more than we've ever done before to transform our campuses to support women in crisis. And in fact, I'm so tired of waiting, we're even going to start knocking on doors, 25,000 of them in every single city, to tell neighbors what the abortion facility in their neighborhood has been up to and what life-empowering resources already exist right in their community. You can actually go right now to prolifefuture.org and find out where we'll be and sign up to join us. You know, when I was growing up, my mom always used to say that I was always in a hurry. And she never could figure out where I was in a hurry to go to. I mean, growing up in West Virginia, there really weren't too many places. I think I figured it out, Mom. I believe with all my heart that this is what I've been in a hurry for. The end of abortion. And I am so tired of waiting. So today, I hope you are as excited and a little scared, if we're being honest, as I am right now about this turn that we're about to take, this unexpected road that we are charting for our movement, to not only continuing marching forward, but to sprint forward to our finish line, reaching that finish line of reversing Roe v. Wade and Doe versus Bolton and making abortion illegal and unthinkable, state by state, community by community. This is the pro-life generation, and we are building a pro-life future, and the future is anti-abortion.